Are you looking to get into archery but you don't know where to begin? Then this video is for you. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Zach and JR here at Extreme Outfitters, your #1 shop for all things archery and bow hunting. So JR, getting into archery, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of moving parts, and if you don't know where to begin,
it can be very daunting.
It can be. So that's what we're talking about today. This is for our new archers out there, or those that are looking to get into the bow hunting game. We're gonna talk about where you start. So JR, we'll lead off with that. What's the #1 thing you start with when you get into the archery world?
Yes, well obviously you need a bow. So I mean that's probably your most important part right there,
right.
Is having the actual bow you're gonna shoot. And that alone is very daunting on where you can go. There's so many different options, different brands, manufacturers, axle lengths, brace heights. There's so much to really consider. There's a lot of knowledge out there, and that's where hopefully we can help you guide on this video.
Yes, that's our goal with this. So when getting into it, and we talk about getting into a bow, one of the first things before you even get into a bow, we recommend that you guys do, and we've said this before, is head into a pro shop. So you can come into our shop here at Extreme Outfitters or go to your local archery shop. And we're talking archery specific. When you go to a shop, you have techs behind the counter, and those are what are gonna make your archery experience good, right? Because these bows, technically, you can pick them up and start shooting, but they're not going to be set up correctly to you, and they won't be efficient, and you're not going to be consistent and accurate with them. And that's where the tech behind the counter comes into play. So when you go into a shop, typically what you want to do is you want to have some kind of budget in place. And as a new archer, you don't need to have this massive budget in mind, right? Archery, you can spend a whole lot of money, but you can also get into the game for a reasonable price. Do you agree?
Yes, it's going to be just like any other hobby. Hobbies can become very expensive, so that is one thing just really keep in mind on.
Absolutely. So when we talk about bows, we have our budget-friendly bows, and then you go all the way to the other end of the spectrum with your flagship bows, which are your high-end bows, right? Those are going to have the most performance, the most tunability. There's a lot that comes with it. You typically get a little bit, you get what you pay for in the archery world, but there are some really great budget-friendly options to get into it. And when we talk about budget-friendly, typically a good price point is going to be right around that $500. Mm-hmm. I understand that's expensive to some people, but when getting into this sport and you compare it to your high-end stuff, it's really
it's a fraction of the cost.
It is.
It could be.
Right. And you know, we look at it now. Look at the game system kids are playing. We just talked about this in another video. I mean, you PlayStation, Xbox, whatever it is, spend $500 on that. Mm-hmm. With this, especially if you're getting into it as a bow hunter, you're looking at taking the life of an animal. You want some quality equipment, halfway decent at least, to get the job done. And
something hopefully that will last you for years to come as well.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's the case with all the bows now. Everything will last you years. As long as you take care of it, do what you need to with it, they'll last you a lifetime.
Yes. So let's talk about the bow, right? So as a new archer coming in and you've established your budget, and let's call it around that $500 price point, which I think is a good starting price point. Typically, when you come into it, you can get these ready to hunt or ready to shoot packages, which is a great way to start off getting into the archery world, right? Because it eliminates you having to go through and individually pick out all of your accessories, right?
Correct.
Because you're not technically at that level yet to where it's going to make a difference, mm-hmm. right? So this is a good starting point. So what do you think as far as getting into it, ready to hunt packages, what are you looking for?
Honestly, I look for something more along the lines that's going to catch my eye. And then shooting the bow, I want to be able to have a bow that's going to feel comfortable to me, and especially with the draw length and draw weight. So that's something you really need to consider with that.
Absolutely. So for example, this is a bow by Diamond. This is the Pro 320. This bow is very adjustable. So when you're getting into the game, when you're learning to shoot a bow, it's a different muscle group that you're using, right? So these bows are very adjustable. We'll call this 30 to 70 pounds, somewhere around there. And that's a lot of more of your mid-price point bows, right? They have that adjustability because when you're getting into it, you need to learn to draw the bow back and shoot the bow correctly before you start bumping that poundage up. And that's the great thing about this, is you can dial it down, learn to shoot it, and then dial it up as you become more proficient with it. The other great thing about it is the adjustability in the draw length. When you come into a shop, you've got to get fitted for the bow, right? So that's where we take your wingspan, we divide it by 2.5, and we find that starting point for your draw length. These have draw length adjustment. Like for example, this one goes from 20 all the way to 30 inches of draw length.
31, I think.
31 inches of draw length. So it accommodates a lot of different individuals. From there, once we establish your draw length, we take and we actually put you behind the bow, and that's where it's important you go in your bow shop.
There's nothing worse than going into or getting a bow, buying online, and it hasn't been set up for you, and then you're trying to figure it out. Sometimes it can be very confusing because they do sometimes run letter systems, where I do like that, especially on like this diamond, it does actually have your actual draw length listed on there. It goes from 20 to 31, so that's something to consider. And then some bows, sometimes you actually do need a press to be able to change out those mods. So like I said, it's just something to really consider with that.
Yeah, the other thing about going into a pro shop is if you've never shot a bow, you don't even know what to expect, right? You don't know how it should feel, what it should look like on you, and that's where going into a shop and testing the bows that's why we think it's very, very important when you're getting into it, right? Whenever you come into our shop, once we establish that budget, we set up all the bows that are within that price point for you to let you get a feel, because they all offer something different and unique about them and all have a different feel. So the other great thing about the package bows, like we said, is it comes with ready to shoot. So going over some of the terminology and lingo, what do we got whenever we're looking at the bows? What are the other accessories that are required when getting into and setting your bow up?
So you will need obviously a peep that's going to go inside your string. That's going to be your rear sight, and then you're going to have your front sight, which is going to be, most times have a fixed system. So you have your fixed pins there that'll give you all of your yardages. Most people start off with 20 yards on the top pin, and then you're going to work in 10-yard increments from there. That is the standard. You don't have to do that, but that's just kind of makes it easy. Most times it will give you enough of a gap as well where you're not going to have a lot of cloudiness with your pins.
Yeah, absolutely. From there, you've got your sight that comes on it. Then you've got your arrow rest. Your arrow rest is what the arrow rests on whenever you draw the bow back. So a lot of your budget-friendly bows come with what's called a whisker biscuit. So it's a full containment style rest that is fixed. There's no moving parts on it. And the arrow goes and sets and runs right through it. So it's very simple. You don't have to worry about it falling out. It's a very simplistic system. It comes on most of your price point bows. From that, you got to have your quiver, right? No one wants to walk around with their arrows in their hand. So you've got a quiver to carry your arrows. And then from there, you've got your stabilizer, right? These are all things that you can customize later on during your archery journey, right? You can upgrade all of these accessories on your bow. But the great thing about the Ready to Hunt package is you don't have to make those decisions right out of the gate.
So another really big thing that you need to figure out is what kind of a release you want to use. So we're going into releases. So most people start off with a standard index release. It's going to be on a strap that goes on, attaches to your wrist, and then you will actually have a trigger that you're going to use just like shooting a rifle or a pistol. And that is what is going to activate your shot. Another option to think about is a thumb button. This is honestly more for more advanced archers, but we do have plenty of guys that come in and they want to go right to a thumb button. So they've done some research, watching videos like this, and then they can make guided decisions from there.
Right, absolutely. So backtracking a little bit on the release. So these bows, if you don't know, these bows are designed to be shot with a release or a release aid, right? We're not shooting with our fingers when it comes to compound bows. That's where the release comes in. That just helps improve your accuracy when it comes to shooting that bow, right? It's very important because with these bows, if you start cranking on these with your hands and stuff, and we see it a lot, you pull it back with your fingers and you torque or twist that riser, it's very easy to what we call derailing that bow where the string and everything comes off that cam. So that's why the release is so important in shooting your bow. From there, we've got what seems like an unlimited amount of options, right? Our arrows. Arrows are one of those things that are critical when it comes to shooting your bow, right? Obviously, we need something to shoot out of it, but also choosing the correct arrow. I see it, guys will go, they'll just buy arrows from Walmart and they'll be glued and ready to go and they'll start shooting them. One of the things that's important is if you do not choose the correct arrow, so the correct spine or stiffness, and you're shooting a bow, it can cause issues with the bow, right? If the arrow is not set up correctly.
So one of the things that we really pride ourselves on here is we will tune all of our bows that we sell. Come in no matter what. If you buy a brand new bow from us, we will have no charge for you. It's going to be included with the cost of the bow pretty much. So we will make sure everything is going good. And that's going back to what we said at the beginning is making sure you go to a good pro shop so we can get set up correctly and having people that are knowledgeable on what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a lot of moving parts, right? Whenever we draw this bow back, it's just not draw back and let it go. We want to be accurate with it. So we come in and we set your anchor, show you how to anchor that bow, show you how to use your peep sight, line it up with your sight housing, and teach you the shot process when we put you on a range. So it's a full package deal that you get when you come in. And that's kind of the advantage, I think, of going to most pro shops is you get that full experience. So you get walked through baby steps every step of the way, so you know exactly what you're getting into, how to utilize your equipment, and then how to be proficient and leave the shop confident with the new equipment that you got. But jumping back onto the arrow side of things, JR, you don't want to spend a lot of money on arrows when you're first getting into this, right? Because you're going to lose some and you're probably going to break some.
Yes.
It's just part of the game. So what we typically recommend is something that's affordable, but it's still a quality shaft or quality arrow.
Correct, yep.
One of our more popular ones is going to be Easton 6.5 Bow Hunter. It's just a great shaft all around. It's a 6.5 millimeter diameter. It comes pre-fletched. And what we do is we take and cut it down to size based off you and your setup, and we glue your inserts so that you're shooting the correct arrow out of that bow. From there, there's a lot of options. And then kind of as you advance in your archery journey, you can really take and step up. Like some of JR's arrows are, custom built arrows, and they can cost, this is around $8 an arrow, upwards of $20 to $30 a shaft.
And that's talking just a shaft without components and vanes and wraps. So it's a really big rabbit hole you can fall down. Really.
It is. And is it necessary? Absolutely not. But it's fun, right? You can customize them. You can build them out to your liking. And as you get better and more accurate, you don't worry about losing them.
Right. Only sometimes breaking them or occasionally losing them, but it doesn't happen as often.
Not as often, right? Yeah. It's still justifiable to spend that amount of money. And you do get a little bit more performance out of them, right? So when we look at something like this is what we call a 6,000th straightness, which is kind of run-of-the-mill standard for more of your price point arrows. And when you step up in quality, you get an arrow that spins a little bit straighter, so you get better performance out of it, better flight, more consistency.
Yes, tighter tolerances as well.
Absolutely, tighter tolerance, especially with those components. And when you're going through and selecting your arrows, like you said, going down that rabbit hole, whenever you get more involved in this, you can change out your components, you can change out your vanes on the back. Like, for example, we get a lot of new archers that come in and they'll like shoot a vane off and they think they need a new shaft or a new arrow. Well, these can all be refletched either by you at home if you buy the equipment or if you take it to your local shop. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with them.
Yep. And then also adding on to that as well, these are great arrows that you can use for just target shooting or hunting. There's really no difference between them. There is target generic arrows, but like the arrows we're talking about, this is mainly for hunting. So use it for target practice, and then once you're ready, you take that field point off, screw your broadhead in, and you're ready to go out in the field and hopefully take a good animal.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we get asked a lot. Like, I want practice arrows, and then I want my hunting arrows. Well, that's fine if you buy, let's say you buy a dozen and you do 6 and 6, but it's the same shaft,
correct,
right? We're not going to buy cheap shafts to practice with and shoot and get our bow sighted in, and then go to a completely different shaft to hunting.
Correct.
I mean, because you just won't have the consistency. It's like changing the grain bullet that you're shooting out of a rifle, right? If you go from 120 grains to 143 grains, there's going to be a trajectory difference. It's the same thing with your arrows.
Correct. Yep. And that's where also, if you do make any changes like that, you need to make sure that you have your bow possibly retuned. If you're making small changes, like just changing like a 100 to 125 grain field point, you might not have to make a big difference on the tune, but it will definitely throw your sights off. So that is one thing to really consider as well.
Absolutely. So getting into archery, it can be overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be, right? Correct. So start small and grow into this. You do not have to go off the deep end when you get into it, right? We get a lot of guys that come in, they're like, oh, my buddy said this is the best bow. It might be the best bow for him, but it might not be the right bow for you.
Correct.
So there you have it, guys. That's pretty much what you need to get started into the bow hunting or archery world. It's not a lot. You can get into it, like we said, right around that $500 price point. You can get a quality piece of equipment to do anything you want to do with it realistically, whether it's target or hunting. It's very, very capable equipment. And one of the things that we recommend with it, though, is that you spend time behind whatever bow you decide to go with and learn to shoot it efficiently. Get your reps in, build up the muscle so that you, one, don't fatigue right away, because that's a big thing. Shooting a bow is completely different than what the muscles that people use on a daily basis. So you fatigue fairly quick. So spend time outside or on our indoor range, come shoot the bow, get familiar with it, get comfortable with it, and then slowly go from there. So as always, we really appreciate you guys watching our videos. If you have questions, let us know. We've got tons of other videos that you can look through. If you're looking for arrows or bow reviews, there's lots of them on our channel, so feel free to search them out. If you've got questions for us, make sure you drop in the comments. Let us know how we can help you out.
Let us know in the comments what bow you started on. I know I started on, I believe it was a Jennings. I don't remember the model or anything, but that was years ago.
I started on an Elite Energy 32. Was not set up correctly to me at all.
Mine wasn't either. There was no such thing as a bow shop back in the day for me.
Go to your local shop, come by and see us, call us on the phone. We'll walk you through any of the questions you got and help you along the way. And if you have any questions, like I said, we're always here for you guys 7 days a week. So as always, we appreciate you guys watching. Head over to our website, extremeoutfitters.com.
Yep. And also don't forget, sign up for our newsletter that we can get signed up for exclusive savings that we do online.
Exclusive to you guys. So we appreciate you guys watching. Drop some comments. Let us know how your journey's going, and we will see you guys in the next video.